Sally, help me schedule a full-face skin graft surgery with Dr. Cook in Haputa. Hearing Morgan Hayes' request, her best friend Sally Cook immediately sensed something was off. Morgan, a full-face skin graft is extremely painful and comes with a high risk of infection. Sebastian loves you so much. Would he really let you take such a risk? I'm divorcing him soon. It's too complicated to explain over the phone. I'll tell you everything once I get to Haputa. After hanging up, Morgan lowered her gaze to the video playing on a loop on her phone. In the video, Sebastian Cole was pressing Luna Yates beneath him, moving with urgency. Luna wrapped her long legs around his waist, her face flushed, eyes hazy with seduction. Mr. Cole, can you even get hard looking at your wife's scarred face? Don't bring her up and ruin the mood, Sebastian panted, slapping her. Stop squirming, you little tease. Are you trying to drain me dry? Luna pouted, looking half annoyed and half coquettish. You're so mean. Morgan and Sebastian grew up together as childhood sweethearts. The night before their wedding, they were in a car accident while taking their wedding photos. Morgan threw herself in front of the car to save Sebastian, getting hit and flung into the air. Her body suffered multiple fractures, and her face was scraped against the pavement, leaving it completely disfigured. Yet Sebastian never showed any disgust toward her. He still married her, treating her with the same care and devotion as before. Everyone said he loved her more than his life, that his love surpassed superficial appearances. She once believed that too. But half a month ago, she sensed something was off and secretly hired a private investigator. Only now, after receiving this video, did she finally realize Sebastian had been cheating on her with their housemaid all along. The video kept playing on a loop until her phone finally powered off. She didn't know how much time had passed before the door suddenly swung open. Sebastian rushed in, pulling her into his arms. Morgan, you scared me to death. Why weren't you answering my calls? The scent of sex still clung to him. Disgust churned in Morgan's stomach as she shoved him away. My phone died. Luna strolled in leisurely from the doorway, her gaze landing on Morgan's scarred face, her tone laced with jealousy. Mr. Cole, I told you that Mrs. Cole never ever leaves the house. How could anything have happened to her? Sebastian shot her a sharp look. Shut up. As the housemaid, you're supposed to stay by her side at all times. How could you not even know that her phone ran out of battery? Luna tugged at her clothes, deliberately revealing the kiss marks on her shoulder, and said with a hint of grievance, my boyfriend came to see me today. I told Mrs. Cole about it. Back in her third month working as their housemaid, Luna suddenly mentioned to Morgan that she had a boyfriend. Morgan genuinely congratulated her and even promised to give her a generous wedding gift in the future. Thinking about it now, she realized what a fool she had been. Luna had clearly been involved with Sebastian all along and was just flaunting it in front of her. Sebastian reprimanded, I made it clear on the very first day that your priority is always Mrs. Cole. Tired of their performance, Morgan cut him off. Fire her. Both of them froze, turning to look at her. Luna's voice trembled as she pleaded, Mrs. Cole, please don't fire me. My mother depends on my salary for medical treatment. If I've done something wrong, just tell me, and I'll change. Morgan's tone remained indifferent. You haven't done anything wrong. I just don't like you being too considerate. After all, she had been considerate enough to take care of her husband too. That was a bit too much. Tears welled up in Luna's eyes as she turned to Sebastian, who instinctively pulled Morgan into his arms. Morgan, Lulu has been dedicated to her work all this time. It was just one mistake. Can't you forgive her? Morgan let out a soft, mocking laugh. Lulu. Sebastian's expression stiffened for a moment before he quickly composed himself. You always call her Lulu so affectionately. I just picked up the habit. After saying that, he put on a stern face and turned to Luna. Miss Yates, if you mess up again, even if my wife forgives you, I'll fire you immediately. Luna bowed her head and obediently agreed before retreating under his scolding. Sebastian then reached into his pocket and pulled out an elegant jewelry box. He opened it and placed it in front of Morgan. Morgan, I had this necklace custom made at the jeweler's just for you. There was no trace of excitement in her gaze as she looked at the expensive diamond necklace. I heard that men only shower women with gifts when they feel guilty about something. She looked directly at him. You've given me quite a few gifts over the past 3 months. Did you do something you need to make up for? Sebastian's eyes crinkled with amusement, his face perfectly composed. Why would you think that? You're my wife. When I see beautiful jewelry, of course, I want to buy it for you. After dinner, Sebastian personally applied the healing ointment to Morgan's scarred face before pressing a gentle kiss to her forehead. Morgan couldn't tell which version of him was real anymore. Unwilling to face his deception any longer, she turned over and pretended to sleep. The moment she fell asleep, Sebastian quietly left the room. Not long after, Luna's gasps echoed from the living room. Morgan opened her eyes and peered through the narrow gap in the door. Luna was straddling Sebastian, dressed in a revealing maid outfit, her sounds growing louder and louder. Sebastian lifted a hand to cover her mouth, whispering, "Keep it down, or you'll wake Morgan." Luna didn't seem to care. Panting, she murmured, "I spiked her milk with a sleeping pill. Even if there was a thunderstorm, she wouldn't wake up." Her fingers traced circles on Sebastian's chest. "Besides, don't you like it when I'm loud?" Sebastian frowned, warning her, "Be as wild as you want, just not near my wife. You're nothing more than a plaything, know your place." Luna pouted but nodded obediently before leaning in to bite his throat. Sebastian finally lost control, flipping her beneath him. No wonder Morgan slept so deeply every night, only to wake up exhausted and weak the next morning. Luna had been drugging her with Sebastian's permission, also he could indulge himself behind her back. Silent tears rolled down Morgan's cheeks. "Sebastian, you betrayed me first. Now, I'm leaving you." Morgan barely slept that night. The next day was her scheduled follow-up at the hospital. Sebastian cleared his entire schedule and personally drove her there. Just as they arrived, they saw a woman with severe burn scars covering her face, crying in anguish on the ground. "I was disfigured saving you, and now, just 2 years later, you've already found someone new. How can you be so heartless?" The man looked at her with cold indifference. "You only have yourself to blame for being so stupid. Just looking at your hideous face every day gives me nightmares. I let you keep your title as my wife and didn't throw you out onto the streets, that's more kindness than you deserve." Morgan's fingers clenched as she watched the scene unfold. How was this any different from her own situation? Before she could stop herself, she asked, "Sebastian, is this how you think too? Was that why he cheated on her in secret? All because he believed keeping her as his wife was already an act of generosity?" Sebastian's warm palm caressed the scars on her face. "Morgan, do you not trust me?" When she remained silent, he spoke more firmly. "I love you for who you are. It has nothing to do with your looks. Whether you're beautiful or not, I love you all the same." Morgan let out a bitter laugh. "Is that so?" Sebastian vowed earnestly, "Of course. When we got married, I swore to love only you for the rest of my life." The words from their wedding vows still echoed in her ears, yet the man who had sworn them was no longer the same. Inside the hospital, an unexpected sight greeted them, Luna. Sebastian's expression darkened as he questioned her. "Why aren't you at home doing your job? What are you doing here?" Luna clutched her lower abdomen, her face twisted in pain, but there was unmistakable triumph in her eyes as she turned to Morgan. "Mrs. Cole, I didn't mean to skip work. It's just, my boyfriend was too rough with me last night. You're a woman too. You understand, don't you?" Morgan's gaze remained indifferent. "Looks like your boyfriend really loves you." Luna pouted deliberately. "He's so mean. He left me to come to the hospital alone after doing this to me. He's nothing compared to how Mr. Cole treats you." "Oh. My number's about to be called. I'll head up first." After Luna left, Sebastian seemed visibly distracted. He hesitated for a moment before finally saying, "Morgan, I just remembered that a friend of mine is hospitalized here. I'll go visit him quickly and be right back." Morgan nodded calmly. But his idea of quickly meant disappearing without a trace. She didn't care, though. After her checkup, she took a cab straight to the visa center to apply for her travel documents. Meanwhile, Luna updated her social media. "Feeling sick, but my boyfriend has been taking such good care of me. He even brought me gifts to cheer me up. In the attached photo, a diamond necklace in the shape of a crescent moon hung around her neck, identical to the one Sebastian gave Morgan just the day before. Morgan's chest tightened. She closed the app and put her phone away. 2 hours later, Sebastian's call came through. His voice was filled with urgency. Morgan, where are you? I've been looking for you everywhere. Morgan took a deep breath. I finished my checkup and went home. Sebastian sighed, sounding guilty. Morgan, I lost track of time while catching up with my friend. It won't happen again, I promise. Mom wants us to come over for dinner. I'll drive back to pick you up now. Dinner at the Cole family estate was a mandatory tradition set by Sebastian's mother, Grace. This was the moment Morgan dreaded the most. In the past, it had been tolerable, but ever since her disfigurement, Grace had grown to resent her. Even though she was scarred saving Sebastian's life, his mother still believed a woman with a ruined face was unworthy of her outstanding son, let alone the title of the Cole family's daughter-in-law. When Morgan was still in a coma after the accident, his mother had repeatedly suggested that Sebastian pay her off and call off the engagement. As the car pulled into the grand estate, Morgan had just stepped out when a young boy suddenly aimed a large water gun at her and sprayed her. Kill the ugly witch. Kill the hideous monster. Morgan raised her hand to block the water, but droplets still seeped into her clothes. The next second, Sebastian grabbed the boy by the collar and smacked him on the backside. You're mean, uncle. Protecting the ugly monster. You're the worst. The boy's wails quickly drew the attention of Grace, who rushed over and shielded her grandson. He's just a child. Kids only speak the truth, calling someone beautiful or ugly is just stating the obvious. Are we not even allowed to be honest anymore? Sebastian's expression darkened. Mom, Morgan was scarred because of me. If not for her, your son would have been dead. From today on, I don't want to hear a single word against Morgan in this house. If I do, we won't be coming back ever. Sebastian's firm tone instantly brought the atmosphere to a freezing point. In the past, Morgan would have stepped in to smooth things over, even if it meant taking the short end of the stick. But now, she simply stood there, watching coldly. Grace had only one son, and in the end, she had no choice but to back down. She even made her grandson apologize to Morgan. At the dinner table, Grace kept piling food onto Sebastian's plate. Sebastian, you've lost weight again. Eat more. Then she shot a glare at Morgan. They say a good wife should look presentable in public while being capable in the kitchen. Since you clearly lack the first, the least you could do is keep your husband happy with your cooking. Morgan swallowed her food mechanically, tasting nothing. We recently hired a new housemaid. She's a great cook, and Sebastian enjoys her food. Grace scoffed. A housemaid is just a housemaid, she's not Mrs. Cole. As his wife, you should be the one taking care of these things. Morgan didn't reply, just smiled faintly. Maybe she wouldn't be Mrs. Cole for much longer anyway. Sebastian cut in, his voice firm. Mom, enough. Can we just eat in peace? Grace instantly deflated. Fine, fine. No more talking, let's eat. The table finally fell into silence, but Sebastian's phone kept buzzing. From the corner of her eye, Morgan caught a glimpse of the message from Luna. Mr. Cole, I have a fever. I heard women get even hotter inside when they're burning up. Want to come test it out? Luna attached a private photo of herself in barely their lingerie. Sebastian's face darkened as blood rushed to his head. He slammed his phone shut, the movement so abrupt that even Grace noticed something was off. Sebastian, what's wrong? She asked, concerned. Sebastian quickly stood up. Mom, something urgent came up at work. I need to take care of it. Then he turned to Morgan. Morgan, I might be back late tonight. Go to bed without me. Without waiting for her response, he hurried out the door. The moment he left, Morgan lost any desire to stay and endure more of Grace's attitude. She stood up, ready to leave as well. Grace slammed her hand on the table, finally unleashing all the pent-up anger from the night. I'm still sitting here, and you're already leaving? Do you have no manners at all? Her voice turned sharp. Mrs. Cook, Ms. Wood, lock her in the attic. Let's see if that teaches her some discipline. Morgan's expression turned cold. You have no right to lock me up. This is illegal detention. Grace let out a mocking laugh. What a joke. A mother-in-law disciplining her daughter-in-law is perfectly justified. Before Morgan could resist, the two older housemaids grabbed her and dragged her upstairs, shoving her into the dark attic. Her heartbeat pounded wildly. Tremors ran through her body. She had claustrophobia. The suffocating fear of death wrapped around her like a vice. The pitch-black room felt like it was hiding monsters, waiting to devour her. She banged on the door, shouting Sebastian's name. In high school, her classmates once locked her in a storage room as a prank. She had been just as terrified back then. Sebastian was the one to kick the door open. Light had poured into the room with him, chasing away the darkness, and for the first time, she felt safe. From that moment on, she saw him as her salvation. She loved him, willingly giving up everything for him, even her own life. But now, no matter how much she screamed, Sebastian never came. Instead, a basin of ice-cold water was dumped over her. Mary Wood stood over her, glaring. "Mrs. Cole, you'd better quiet down. If you keep making a fuss, don't blame us for getting rough." Soaked to the bone, Morgan was left locked in the attic all night. It wasn't until the next morning that the door finally swung open. Sebastian rushed inside, gathering her shivering body into his arms. "Morgan, I'm sorry. I came back too late." The embrace she once considered her salvation now only suffocated her. She shoved him away and walked toward the door. The moment she stepped outside, her vision blurred, and everything went black. When Morgan opened her eyes again, the blinding white of the hospital room filled her vision. Her fingers twitched slightly, instantly startling Sebastian awake. Relief flooded his expression as he grasped her hand tightly. "Morgan, you've been unconscious for 2 whole days. Thank God you're finally awake." The memories of what happened before she passed out came rushing back. She looked at the man in front of her, the same man who acted as if he cared for her deeply but had already betrayed her. Morgan could see the affection in Sebastian's eyes. But if he still loved her, then why did he cheat? Was it really just because of her face? Yet when she first got disfigured, she suggested traveling abroad for full face graft surgery. Sebastian stopped her. "Morgan, the procedure is excruciating, and the risk of infection is too high. I can't let you take that risk. Trust me, to me, you'll always be the most beautiful." He kissed every scar on her face with reverence, making her believe that he truly didn't care about her appearance and loved her for who she was. But now, the same man who once cherished her scars betrayed her, repulsed by the very face he once claimed to love. Her voice was hoarse as she finally spoke. "Sebastian, you." Before she could finish, the hospital door swung open. A nurse entered, wearing a mask. "Mr. Cole, it's time for Mrs. Cole's 4." She tore open the sterile pack and inserted the needle into Morgan's hand. But it missed the vein entirely. Morgan winced as the nurse pulled the bloodied needle out and tried again. Pain shot through her hand, and within seconds, bruises spread across her skin. Sebastian's expression darkened as he strode forward, shoving the nurse away. "What's your employee number? I'm filing a complaint." Tears welled in the nurse's eyes as she looked up at him. "Mr. Cole, I'm just an intern. I haven't quite mastered the technique yet." Sebastian froze before snapping. "So you think it's okay to use my wife as practice? I'm reporting you right now. Come with me to the nurse's station." Grabbing her by the wrist, he dragged her out of the room. But Morgan knew he wasn't taking her to the nurse's station because that nurse was none other than Luna in disguise. Morgan quietly followed behind them. Sebastian led Luna straight up to the rooftop. "Who told you to come here?" Luna unbuttoned her nurse's uniform, revealing the lacy lingerie underneath, and wrapped her arms around his neck. "Mr. Cole, you've been stuck at the hospital with your wife these past 2 days. I missed you." Sebastian's anger visibly diminished, his tone no longer as harsh. "You still shouldn't have disguised yourself as a nurse and stabbed her like that. You're the one who said I needed to be bolder, didn't you?" "I was just practicing." "Practicing on my wife? Are you out of your mind?" Luna pouted, but excitement gleamed in her eyes. All right, I was wrong." Her fingers trailed downward, teasing him. Why don't you punish me, then? Give me a shot instead? Sebastian lost the last shred of his restraint. He grabbed Luna and pushed her against the wall. Her whimpers echoed across the rooftop, growing louder with each passing second. Morgan couldn't watch anymore. Her body felt numb as she turned and walked away. Back in her hospital room, the real nurse arrived to administer her for. Morgan stared at the clear liquid dripping slowly into the tube, feeling as though her heart was being torn apart, piece by piece. She had no idea how much time had passed when her phone rang. It was Sally. Morgan, your reconstructive surgery has been scheduled. It's set for 10 days from now. You'll need to arrive early for the pre-op tests. Morgan was about to tell her that her visa would be ready in 7 days. But before she could respond, Sebastian's voice cut through the silence. Who's getting reconstructive surgery? Morgan looked up and saw Sebastian standing at the door. She lowered her voice and said, "Got it," before hanging up the call. Sebastian strode over to the bedside and asked again, "Morgan, are you getting surgery?" Morgan remained calm. "It's for my friend. Didn't you say that whether I'm beautiful or not, you'd love me just the same? If that's true, why would I put myself through the pain?" Sebastian pulled her into his arms. "Morgan, promise me you'll never do anything that puts you at risk. I couldn't bear to lose you." As they sat close together, Morgan easily noticed the faint marks on the back of his neck, traces of another woman. Keeping her expression neutral, she gently pushed him away. "You mentioned transferring all your shares to me before. Does that still stand?" Sebastian's gaze softened with affection. "Morgan, when have I ever gone back on my word to you? But before, no matter how I insisted, you wouldn't accept them. What made you change your mind now?" Morgan curled her lips slightly. "Didn't you say that once I become a major shareholder, your mother won't dare to mistreat me anymore?" At the mention of Grace, guilt flickered in Sebastian's eyes. Without hesitation, he called his assistant to draft the transfer documents and have them sent to the hospital. There were over a dozen documents to sign, and Morgan took the opportunity to slip her prepared divorce papers in at the very end, having him sign them all in one go. With 2 major matters settled at once, the heaviness weighing on her heart lightened considerably. Morgan remained in the hospital for another 2 days before being discharged. On the day of her release, Sebastian arrived early to pick her up. As soon as she opened the car door, her eyes landed on a torn pair of stockings lying in the passenger side footwell. A memory flashed in her mind, Luna's social media post from the day before. "My boyfriend was too impatient again. Another pair of stockings ruined. Hee, but I guess it was worth it." She attached a screenshot of a 5-figure bank transfer. Morgan calmly shut the front passenger door and slid into the backseat instead. Sebastian glanced at her through the rearview mirror. "Why are you sitting in the back? Now wasn't the time to tear things apart just yet." Suppressing the nausea churning in her stomach, Morgan replied, "The backseat is safer." Sebastian chuckled. "Are you doubting my driving skills?" Morgan gave a half-hearted response, brushing him off before falling silent. Halfway through the drive, Sebastian's phone suddenly rang. He glanced at the caller ID before declining the call. But the person on the other end was persistent, dialing again and again, 10, maybe 15 times, until Sebastian had no choice but to pick up. As soon as he answered, his expression shifted. A moment later, he slammed on the brakes. "Morgan, something urgent just came up at work. Can you take a cab home on your own?" Morgan's gaze lingered on his anxious face, and the corner of her lips curled into a faint, self-mocking smile. "Sure." At that moment, Luna updated her social media. "Got into a car accident. Called my boyfriend right away, and he said he'd be here in a second. I love this feeling of knowing I can always count on him." The attached photo showed her looking pitiful, her ankle red and swollen. Morgan opened the car door and stepped out. Sebastian followed, personally hailing a cab for her. Only after watching her get in did he rush off in the opposite direction. As soon as Sebastian drove away, Morgan paid the fare and got out of the cab. She walked. For 5 hours, she followed the familiar roads of her childhood, step by step, until she reached her old family home. Pushing open the creaky door, she stepped inside. Underneath an apple tree in the yard, she retrieved a shovel and began digging. Soon, her fingers brushed against the cool, metallic surface of a time capsule she had buried at 18. Back then, she wrote down her dreams, sealing them away with the promise to unearth them 10 years later together with Sebastian. I hope to marry Sebastian. I want to have 2 children with him and love him for a lifetime. That was the wish of 18-year-old Morgan. Now, at 28, she tore the note to shreds. In its place, she placed her signed divorce papers back into the capsule. Just as she sealed it shut, hurried footsteps echoed from outside. Sebastian arrived, panting, his face filled with urgency. "Morgan, why didn't you go home? You weren't answering your phone. I was going crazy looking for you." Morgan's voice was calm. "I thought you weren't planning to come home tonight." That single sentence struck him with guilt. "Morgan, I'm sorry. Work has been hectic lately. Once things settle down, I'll make it up to you." Morgan curled her lips into a faint smile and handed in the time capsule. Sebastian turned it over in his hands, his fingers brushing against the lid. "Let me see, what was your wish?" Morgan pressed down on his hand, her expression serious. "Open it in 5 days. I already fulfilled my past wish. Now I've put in a new one. 5 days from now, I want you to help me make it come true." Sebastian nodded, his voice filled with indulgence. "All right, no matter what it is, I'll make it happen." Back at the house, Luna was sprawled on the couch, exuding the presence of a mistress who already took over the house. Morgan intended to ignore her completely. But Luna, limping slightly, deliberately stepped in her way. "Mrs. Cole, you've known for a while now, haven't you?" With all the social media updates, the deliberately placed kiss marks, Luna refused to believe Morgan was oblivious. Morgan let out a small, tired smile and met Luna's gaze. "So, what now? Are you here to flaunt your victory, or are you hoping I'll drag you out of here like the homewrecker you are?" She had already decided she didn't want a cheating husband. And with the shares she secured from Sebastian, she had more than enough compensation. There was no need to lower herself further. Caught off guard, Luna suddenly found herself speechless. She planned to provoke Morgan into lashing out, hoping to play the victim in front of Sebastian. But she hadn't expected Morgan to be this composed, enduring it all just to keep her position as Mrs. Cole. Morgan brushed past her and walked straight into the house. Luna suddenly grabbed Morgan's hand, her voice trembling with panic. "Mrs. Cole, I know I was wrong." Before Morgan could react, Luna threw herself forward, slamming her head against the table. Blood immediately trickled from the gash on her forehead. That was the scene Sebastian walked in on. Luna clutched her bleeding forehead, her eyes brimming with tears. "Mr. Cole, my leg was hurting, so I couldn't stand up fast enough to greet Mrs. Cole properly. She got angry and hit me." Morgan was momentarily stunned by Luna's sudden act. Snapping out of it, she quickly defended herself. "I didn't. She did this to herself." Tears streamed down Luna's face as she sobbed pitifully. "Why would I risk disfiguring myself just to frame you, Mrs. Cole?" Sebastian's gaze flickered between the two women before he finally stepped toward Luna and lifted her into his arms. "Morgan, I know you wouldn't do something like this, but Luna's bleeding badly. I need to take her to the hospital first." Without another word, he carried Luna out, not even glancing back. Morgan stood in the empty room, staring at the door. After a long silence, she let out a self-mocking laugh. Sebastian claimed to trust her, but his actions spoke louder than his words. It didn't matter. A man who cheats was bound to fall out of love sooner or later. After that confrontation, Luna stopped pretending altogether. She openly flaunted her relationship with Sebastian, posting intimate pictures of them together and sending messages to provoke Morgan. "Morgan, when was the last time you even shared a bed with him? Mr. Cole said just looking at your scarred face makes him want to vomit. He slept with me 3 times last night. He said he wished he could die in my arms. Do you really think playing the quiet, obedient wife will save you from being replaced?" Morgan never responded. She simply read every message, saved the photos and chat logs, and stored them away. 3 days passed in a blur. Morgan sold her shares in the company, picked up her visa, and immediately booked a flight to Haputa for the next day. She assumed she wouldn't see Sebastian again before leaving. But to her surprise, he came home. He told her that he fired Luna for being careless with her work. In reality, he had set Luna up in a lavish penthouse, a gilded cage to keep his mistress tucked away in luxury. Morgan no longer felt any pain over his lies. What had once cut her deeply had numbed her over time, until now, she simply didn't care. Whatever you decide, she replied indifferently. Sebastian wrapped his arms around her from behind, his voice carrying a rare hint of vulnerability. Morgan, you've been acting strange lately. No matter what I say, you don't seem to care. Morgan smirked. What should I do instead? Disagree with you? Demand that Luna stay on as our housemaid? Sebastian hesitated for a couple of seconds before speaking. Morgan, I've been feeling uneasy lately. Like I'm about to lose you. Morgan turned the question back on him. And if you did lose me, what would you do? Sebastian held her tighter. I'd go crazy. Morgan, don't leave me. Morgan's lips curled into a slow, unreadable smile. Then I'll be waiting to see you lose your mind. What did you say? Her voice was so soft that Sebastian didn't catch it. Morgan slipped free from his embrace, her tone light. Nothing. I'll cook dinner for you tonight. Their story began one summer when she was 18. Sebastian had cooked a meal for her. Afterward, he asked how it tasted. Morgan rattled off every compliment she could think of, showering him with praise. Blushing and stammering, he grabbed her hand. Morgan, be my girlfriend. I'll cook for you every day. At the time, she felt like the luckiest girl in the world. Her wish, the one she sealed inside the time capsule, came true. 18 was an age of innocence, naive, sweet, filled with simple joys. Back then, even a single kiss was enough to make them both blush for hours. From that moment on, they were inseparable. When her parents died in a tragic accident, he was the one who stayed by her side, pulling her out of the depths of grief. When he took over the company and faced sabotage from senior executives, she stood with him, encouraging him, strategizing with him, helping him fight through every power struggle. They had argued and bickered, but breaking up had never been an option. Yet now, their youth, the years that belonged to them alone, had come to an end. Sebastian's face lit up with delight. Then I'm in for a treat tonight. I'll help you in the kitchen. Morgan shook her head. No need. Let me handle it tonight. An hour later, she set the table with a lavish meal. Just as they were about to eat, Sebastian's phone began ringing nonstop. He declined the calls a few times, but eventually, he picked up. His expression shifted. Looking at Morgan, he hesitated before speaking. Morgan, something urgent just came up at work. The same tired excuse. But Morgan didn't call him out on it. Instead, she smiled faintly. Work comes first. Go ahead. Sebastian jumped to his feet and rushed toward the door. Just as he reached it, he hesitated and turned back. Morgan, wait for me. I'll take care of this and be back soon. Morgan simply smiled without answering. That word soon that came from him had long lost all meaning to her. Sure enough, moments later, a video message from Luna popped up on her phone. The camera shook as the bed beneath them moved wildly. Sebastian had Luna pinned beneath him, his body pressing into hers. Luna playfully pushed at his shoulder, her voice light and teasing. Mr. Cole, let me go. Your wife is still waiting for you at home for dinner. Sebastian held her down tighter, his voice hoarse. Let her wait. Right now, the only thing I want to eat is you. Luna giggled. You're so mean. Morgan watched the video in silence. Then she saved it. After that, she sat down and ate every dish on the table, forcing down every last bite until she felt sick and was so full she wanted to throw up. Then, without hesitation, she dumped the remaining food into the trash. She made a call to a charity foundation, arranging for every single one of her belongings in that house to be donated. Luxury jewelry, designer clothes, personal keepsakes, she left nothing behind. As she looked around at the half-empty house, a sense of freedom finally settled in. The next morning, Morgan left, dragging her suitcase behind her as she headed for the airport. Right before boarding, she sent every video and photo she collected to the media. As the plane climbed to 6,000 meters, she gazed out the window at the rising sun. The sky was clear, the sunlight warm. From this moment on, everything about Sebastian had nothing to do with